Hey everyone, what's going on? Today we're diving into a topic that stirs up more debate than oil brands at a biker bar. Chinese motorcycles. Love them, hate them, mock them all you want, but they aren't going anywhere. And I know what you're thinking. Am I really about to give my personal seal of approval to one of these budget-friendly machines? Well, here's the deal. A whole bunch of you are going to buy one anyway. So instead of wagging my finger and telling you not to, I'm going to teach you the brands and bikes that you probably won't regret buying. Now, before we get into it, just a quick time out, guys. If you've enjoyed the content so far, could you take a second and like this video and subscribe to the channel? Over 98% of viewers watch these videos without subscribing. It costs you absolutely nothing, but it's a huge help to me in growing my channel. Thanks. Okay, let's go. Now, you might be thinking that China is huge, right? Can I really make some broad, sweeping statement about the reliability or build quality of all Chinese-made motorcycles? Well, I hate to break it to you, but yes, I absolutely can, and with good reason. See, the vast majority of bikes rolling out of China aren't coming from hundreds of different companies. They're all churned out by the same handful of manufacturers, slapped with different badges, and shipped off to unsuspecting buyers. And the unfortunate truth? Most of them are pretty terrible. Sure, you could drop $2,000 on a Chinese bike that might get you through a season. But once the constant wrenching, parts scavenging, and questionable reliability start wearing you down, guess what? You're stuck. Resale value? Forget about it. Chinese bikes depreciate faster than a gas station sandwich in the sun, and no one wants to buy a used one when they can just grab a brand new one for pennies more. Meanwhile, that old Honda you passed up, still chugging along, still holding its value, and still proving why cheap up front doesn't always mean cheap in the long run. So, with that out of the way, let's cut through the nonsense and look at the 8 Chinese-made motorcycles that are actually worth buying. The first 3 bikes on the list are from Benelli. And yeah, I get it, 3 from the same brand. Maybe. But the reality is, most Chinese motorcycles are just plain awful. Think Amazon Special, unassembled, with sawdust in the crankcase. And let's not forget the some assembly required fine print, because nothing screams quality like a bike that arrives missing half its bolts. But Benelli? Benelli is different. Now, before you start shouting, but Benelli is Italian! Yes, you're technically right. Founded in Italy in 1911, Benelli is actually one of the oldest motorcycle manufacturers in the world. The problem? They've never really had the same lasting impact as brands like Ducati, Moto Guzzi, or Aprilia. Throughout the 80s and 90s, they bounced around from one financial crisis to another, changing owners more times than a Craigslist project bike. Then, in 2005, they were bought out by Changan Motors, a massive Chinese manufacturing giant, and they actually produce some of the highest quality motorcycles coming out of China today. TNT 135 is one of the most widely available models, and trust me, if you're in the market for a small, fun, and surprisingly solid mini bike, this one is definitely worth a look. The Benelli TNT 135 is Benelli's answer to the Honda Gram, a fun, small, lightweight little hooligan machine that's perfect for ripping around parking lots, pulling sketchy wheelies, and generally making bad decisions with your friends on mini bikes. Is it a good first bike for an American rider? Not really. It's just too tiny to provide the kind of experience you need to truly learn how to handle a motorcycle properly. But let's be honest, plenty of you are going to buy a Gram as your first bike anyway. So if you're already heading down that path, why not throw the TNT 135 into the mix? Under the hood, or, well, under the gas tank, the TNT 135 packs a liquid-cooled 135cc single-cylinder engine, pushing out 13 horsepower and 8 foot-pounds of torque. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's basically a leaf blower on 2 wheels. And sure, in the grand scheme of motorcycles, that's not much. But if you're coming from the world of mopeds and scooters, 13 horsepower might as well feel like a turbocharged Hayabusa. In fact, here's a little detail. The TNT 135 actually makes more horsepower than a Honda Gram. It's lightweight, agile, and low risk, meaning you can go slow and still feel like you're going fast. Plus, unlike the Gram's 4-speed, the TNT comes with a 5-speed gearbox, which helps it push past the 30-mile-an-hour barrier with a little more ease. So, what's the verdict? The Benelli TNT 135 is a blast to ride. It's a solid alternative when the Grams are sold out, and at under $3,000, it's cheap enough to roll the dice on. The second bike from Benelli is the Leoncino 500. And let me tell you, I got to ride the trail version of this thing a while back, and I was genuinely impressed. The Benelli Leoncino is a retro-style naked motorcycle with that modern scrambler aesthetic. A mix of classic looks with just enough tech and engineering to keep it relevant in today's market. First introduced in 2017, it pulls heavy inspiration from the original Leoncino models from the 50s and 60s, back when Benelli was still very much an Italian motorcycle brand. But instead of outdated suspension and drum brakes, this version comes with modern tech, making it a capable, practical daily rider with just the right amount of personality. Now, if you're tired of seeing the same beginner bikes at every stoplight, the one that every fresh-faced rider and their cousin seems to be on, this might be the breath of fresh air you're looking for. The Leoncino actually has some character. It's got style, it's got attitude, and it's not just another soulless, cookie-cutter starter bike. Under the tank, it's powered with a 500cc twin-cylinder engine, cranking out 47 horsepower and 45 foot-pounds of torque. And here's the surprising part. It outperforms the Royal Enfield Scram 411. And get this, it even edges out the CBR 500R and the Ninja 400. To sweeten the deal, the Leoncino comes with a 6-speed gearbox, upside-down forks, and a slipper clutch, which is a huge bonus for new riders who might not have their downshifting technique dialed in yet. Instead of locking up the rear wheel with a botched downshift, the slipper clutch gives you a bit of a safety net, smooth transitions, fewer sketchy moments. And the price. The Leoncino 500 runs about $6,200 for the street model and $6,500 for the trail version. But if you shop around, you can find them for under $6,000 at some dealerships. Up next from Benelli is the TRK 502, a sport touring adventure bike that's trying to punch up its weight class. But if you're looking for a budget-friendly ADV machine, this one might actually surprise you. Now, Benelli also makes a larger TRK 702, but honestly, at that price point, you might as well just save up and buy something from a more proven brand. The 502, on the other hand, stays within the realm of what makes sense for a budget-conscious rider. You can find the TRK 502 for around $6,000 to $6,500 at dealerships, which is cheaper than both the KTM Duke 390 Adventure and the Suzuki V-Storm 650. Under the hood, you're looking at a liquid-cooled 500cc parallel twin engine, making 47 horsepower and 33 foot-pounds of torque. Now, is that an earth-shattering power figure? Absolutely not. But it's enough to get you where you need to go, especially for riders who don't feel the need to launch their ADV bike like a Dakar racer. In true adventure bike fashion, the TRK comes equipped with a tall widescreen, handguards, and a luggage rack, so it's got all the look and practicality for longer rides. And with a fuel tank that holds over 5 gallons, you're looking at about 250 miles of range per fill-up. Pretty solid if you're planning some weekend touring or backroad exploring. Since we're on the topic of Benelli, let's talk about its parent company, Keeway. One of Keeway's most talked about models is the Superlight Cruiser, a budget-friendly, stylish machine that has sold like crazy. But here's the catch. Many owners don't take care of them properly, expecting a low-cost cruiser to perform like a Honda or Kawasaki while treating it like a disposable beater. Early versions had some issues, things like rust-prone bolts and cheap exhausts. But to their credit, Keeway has made big improvements. Now they use stainless steel hardware, better quality paint, and upgraded exhaust materials to improve longevity and reliability. The bottom line? A well-maintained Superlight is a solid cruiser. But like any bike, if you ignore basic upkeep, it'll turn into a nightmare. Next up is Zonte, and specifically the ZT350T, which is one of the most feature-packed budget adventure bikes you can get your hands on. It has a 348cc single-cylinder machine that cranks out 39 horsepower, paired with a 6-speed gearbox for solid highway capability. What really sets it apart is the premium features that you wouldn't expect on a bike at this price. We're talking Bosch fuel injection, keyless ignition, an electric windscreen, TFT display with Bluetooth, and even tire pressure monitoring. It's a bike that looks far more expensive than it actually is. And while the long-term reliability is something I'll be putting to the test, on paper, it's seriously impressive. Up next on the list, we've got QJ Motors, the flagship brand of Shanjiang, the same company that owns Benelli. Now, word on the street is that QJ Motors is gearing up to bring their flagship bikes to the US, using the same dealer network as Benelli. The big question? Are these bikes actually going to bring anything new to the table? Or are they just going to repackage existing tech, slap a different badge on it, and sell it at a discount? Jury's still out on that one. Here's what we do know. QJ Motors bikes are generally considered okay. They copy a lot of Honda and Suzuki engine designs, which means they're probably decent, assuming, of course, that you do the responsible thing and check every bolt, torque everything properly, and swap out the oil before you even think about taking it for a real ride. QJ makes a ton of bikes, but since they haven't officially landed in the US yet, I can't give you a first-hand recommendation on any specific model. Euro riders, this is where you come in. If you've ridden a QJ bike, drop a comment and let us know what you think. That said, I was pleasantly surprised when I rode a Benelli a while back, and since QJ owns them, it wouldn't shock me that some of their bikes turn out to be pretty solid. One thing's for sure, they're making moves. In fact, QJ even built a 350cc motorcycle for Harley-Davidson. Yep, the 350X, which is being sold as a Harley in China. And if the rumors are true, it could be making its way stateside as part of Harley's official rider training program. Spoiler alert, every other bike on this list is from CF Moto. Like I mentioned earlier, only a few Chinese motorcycle brands are actually worth recommending, and thankfully, CF Moto is stepping up, rapidly expanding their lineup, and proving that not all budget-friendly bikes have to be complete garbage. They're actually making bikes that don't just cater to beginners. They've got options for riders at almost every skill level. Let's take a look. The first CF Moto bike worth talking about is the 300NK, a bike that proves you don't need to sell a kidney just to get into motorcycling. If you're new to the game and not quite ready to fork over a fortune, the 300NK slides well below the mental price barrier that usually comes with shopping for a new bike. Because, let's be real, when you see a motorcycle priced at $5,500, your brain immediately starts doing the ugly math. Taxes, dealer fees, financing, insurance, gear. Before you know it, you're looking at $7,000 plus commitment. Meanwhile, the 300NK costs under $4,200. And for sheer accessibility alone, the 300NK gets a solid recommendation. Under the hood, or under the gas tank if you will, this little machine runs a 292cc single-cylinder engine, putting out 29 horsepower and 10 foot-pounds of torque, which, for an entry-level bike, is pretty good. But what really sets it apart is the feature list. This thing comes with a 6-speed gearbox, dual-channel ABS, a full TFT dash, and LED lighting. In other words, the 300NK is swinging well above its weight class in terms of tech and value. And honestly, I'm here for it. Now, if you're a bit further along in your riding journey and looking for something a little more substantial, the CF Moto 700 CLX is a seriously good deal. This thing is nearly $2,000 cheaper than a Yamaha XSR 700, yet it makes almost the same power and rocks a similar retro-modern look. Under the tank, you've got a 693cc twin pumping out 74 horsepower and 50 foot-pounds of torque. Plenty of grunt for city riding, backroad fun, and even a bit of highway blasting. But here's where it gets really interesting. Unlike the MT-07, the CLX 700 actually comes with fully adjustable KYB suspension in both the front and the rear. That's a premium feature, and it's kind of insane to see it on a bike that's priced in the same range as a Kawasaki Supermoto. The CF Moto 700 CLX comes in at $6,799. Yeah, that's a little higher than your typical Chinese motorcycle, but CF Motor actually has a decent reputation and a solid dealer network, which means getting parts and service shouldn't be too difficult. If you're debating between the CLX, a used MT-07, or an SV650, it's absolutely a competitive option, especially if you want a brand new bike with modern features and a warranty. The last bike on this list is definitely on the premium end for a Chinese motorcycle. But let's be clear, this isn't some sketchy Venom Amazon 250cc boom bike ultra street super legal special. No, this is a CF Moto motorcycle, built with actual high-end parts from reputable manufacturers. And here's the kicker, it's rocking a legit KTM engine. Now, let's be real. KTM engines aren't exactly known for bulletproof reliability, but compared to the no-name, bargain bin motors found in most budget Chinese bikes, this thing is leaps and bounds ahead. The final bike on the list is the Ibex 800T, It seems like ADV bikes are the hot ticket right now, and manufacturers, especially Chinese brands, are going all in. They're expensive, they're wildly popular, and market demand for them just keeps growing. Look at the BMW R1250 GS, one of the best-selling motorcycles in the world. And CF Moto, they're swinging for the fences with the Ibex 800T. This is their top-of-the-line motorcycle, and they threw everything they could at it to make it competitive. The best part? Even as their flagship model, it still only costs $10,500, which is insane when you realize that it comes with a 799cc parallel twin engine, literally the exact same engine from the KTM Duke 790. If you ever wanted a budget-friendly ADV bike with real performance chops, this one might actually be worth a serious look. Performance-wise, the Ibex 800 delivers solid numbers, 79 horsepower and 54 pounds of torque, which is plenty to get you up to speed, whether you're ripping through back roads or hauling camping gear into the unknown. On the suspension side, fully adjustable KYB forks, a rebound and preload adjustable rear shock, and dual J1 calipers up front mean you're getting legit name brand components, not some no-name mystery suspension that feels like it was designed in a lab run by toddlers. Since every ADV bike these days needs more tech than NASA had in 2005, the Ibex 800T doesn't disappoint. It comes with a 7-inch TFT display, full Bluetooth connectivity, and CF Moto's Rider app with GPS and system monitoring. Although, knowing CF Moto, don't be surprised if the GPS gives you directions in inches instead of miles. For the budget-conscious ADV rider who appreciates a well-priced machine with a global supply chain behind it, the Ibex 800T is a seriously competitive package. At $10,500, it's one of the best bang-for-your-buck adventure bikes on the market today. Until next time, ride safe, ride fast, and keep chasing the horizon. See you in the next video.